Welcome back to another episode of Straight to the Point. I am jumping straight on to record some content after a couple of calls this morning. One, which was a sales call, and number two, which was a customer catch up call. And both of them provided the same circumstance and the same scenario where they're using social media currently, but they're just feeling frustrated at the lack of results. And looking at their profiles, it's quite obvious as to why. And I thought, you know what, if they're struggling with this, then you're most likely struggling with it as well. And I thought I'd talk you through some of the key pain points that they're experiencing, what they're struggling with, and then give you the advice that I gave to them into how to make that change and how to see an improvement in it, really. Because none of the stuff that we talk about, I'm sure you've heard me say this before on previous content, but none of the things that we talk about are rocket science. They're really, really simple. And it's just about understanding the marketing process and what makes your ideal customers buy things. And this is where I think a lot of people fall down a bit of a gap, really, because I spend lots of time, as I have this morning, speaking to business owners, to managers, to leaders, to multiple different areas of businesses. And when you actually speak to them, you see how amazing they are. You see their fire, you see their passion, you see their energy. But then you look online with any of their marketing and it's just disjointed and it doesn't showcase what they're about whatsoever. And this was the case with both of those scenarios this morning, because they are using social, they're using platforms like LinkedIn. They are building their networks every single day. However, they're not backing it up with really showcasing why people should work with their businesses over anyone else. And this is where the problem lies. There is that much noise on social media right now where if you are not showcasing like the 100% version of you in every single place that you show up, they're just going to ignore you. And the example that I've got with a customer that we work with, she is a sales professional. She is one of the best there is out there. She is absolutely awesome. I've seen her products. I've seen her services. I've had conversations with her. And she is adding sales leaders into her network right now, people that manage teams, people that manage groups, people that are in different areas of the business as well, but predominantly sales teams. Now, if you were just to receive a message from her out of the blue, you'd look at that and you wouldn't think, oh my God, how amazing you are. You would look at it and you'd go, who on earth are you dropping into my inbox? Big red X, ignore and move on. Now, if you were to even be one of those people that would go, actually, I might want to take that next step. When you then do, you're greeted with something which, again, doesn't showcase any personality whatsoever about your company or the company that you're a part of. There's a real big disconnect. So what I asked both people, both the prospect that I spoke to and also our customer to do, is just to take a step back and to think about why people should work with you over anyone else. Why should they choose your business to work with over any competitor that there is out there doing it? What are the reasons? What are the values that you hold? What are the principles that you live by? What are the results that you deliver that stands you above everyone else that's currently out there delivering something similar to you? Once you go through that exercise and you understand what that is, then you can start voicing it. Then you can start building marketing materials to be able to start gaining these people's attention. It's at that point. So the first step that you need to do is get a really clear understanding of that. The second step is to then think about the journey that your potential customers are going to go on from not knowing who you are right now through to signing a contract and making the decision to buy from you. What is that process that someone's going to go on? Now, I think I've spoken about this example already before, where a lady that I messaged back in February of this year, I sent her my introduction message, and I also sent her a follow-up message sending that person to a YouTube video. They ignored both of them, completely blanked both. Now, throughout that period, they were added to my network and I was posting content. I post content normally every single day. There's the odd gap where I miss it because either I become too busy like everyone else does, or I just want to have a little bit of a break, and both are fine. However, I maybe missed 3 or 4 posts in a 6-week period, right? So normally I'm hitting about 90 to 93% rate of showing up online. Now, those messages and those content pieces that I'm putting out there are purposely created to showcase to people how good I am at what I do. So I put out client case studies. I showcase me speaking. I showcase me on podcasts. I showcase me delivering trainings. I showcase me working with our agency team. I showcase me creating content. I showcase everything, every single reason why someone should work with me. I go out there and I put it out there. I'm so clear on it. Once I'd done that, what I realized was when this whole process unfolded, I've worked my way through it with this specific person. They hadn't liked any of my content. They hadn't commented on any of my content. They hadn't engaged in any way whatsoever. They pretty much blanked me the whole time. Now, 6 weeks later, this was last week, I got an inbound message. So a message landed in my inbox on top of the 2 messages that I sent above saying, "Hi, Chris, I'd love to find out more about the Social Selling Academy that you deliver." What I then did was sent her my number. We then had a conversation. I then invited her onto Zoom. We then had a Zoom conversation. And I then sent her the link to sign up to our academy. And no joke, 2 hours later, she made the decision to join. That is a prime example that's happened just recently of how this whole process really works and how important content is to your whole social media journey. But not just any old content, the right content, the content that really showcases how good you are at what you do. This is the bit that people miss. This is the gap. And we need to make sure that if we're spending time on these platforms, that we're squeezing every little bit out of it that we can, because if we're not, we're going to be missing out on all of this opportunity. But that's just one example. And we've had loads of them over the last 3 years that have been exactly like that. People completely ghosting us. But because they're in the network, because they see the content, eventually, if they realize they've got the problem that we solve, we're the people that they remember. And that's the job of our content. That's the job that it plays. Now, to move on a step further from this, because I've spoken about content a lot before, we then need to, again, go into this process. So if somebody sees the content, if that lady that came through and made the decision to join our academy after following me for 6 weeks, if she didn't have a great process from first having the initial conversation all the way through to watching the live workshop or the pre-recorded workshop at that point, actually, I sent her the replay, she wouldn't have then made the decision to buy. This whole process here is crucial because you've got to understand what you're selling. You've got to understand your offer and who you're really looking to sell it to. And then finally, why on earth they should buy it. You need to be crystal clear on this. You need to know the message to its definitive point, because then that allows you then to communicate with confidence and also to feel confident enough to push people away when they're not the right fit. It's absolutely key. So what I want you to do is some practical takeaways from this is to think about if somebody was to drop you a message right now to say, I want to work with you on X product or service, what is your process that they then go through? So for me, I set my phone number, I asked for their phone number. I then had the phone call with them literally instantly. I rang them and got it all booked in. It was all sorted, got on the phone with them, had the conversation, and I just explored what her business did. I explored how my service, our product and service would link to it. And from there, the next logical step was to show her how everything worked. So rather than just putting the phone down immediately, I told her, if you want to jump on Zoom now, I can show you how it works. We then jumped on Zoom. We went through absolutely everything. And then what I did was, there was no pressure sell. There was no hard sell because that's not how we work. All I did was go, look, if you're interested more, I'll send you a link through to our workshop, which is the next phase in our process. Send you a link to the workshop, give that a watch, and you'll start to see how this all works. She watched the workshop, and the workshop then actually did the selling for me. That's the whole process. It's from end to end. And if you're running events, if you're running live workshops, leverage the asset, leverage everything that you've got to be able to give people the best experience. Because if you're not going to give them a good experience at the front end, they're never going to enjoy the back end because they're never going to get there. So you've got to spend the time doing it. It's absolutely critical to what we're doing. If you're struggling with social media right now, If you're struggling to get responses to messages, if you're struggling to generate leads, if you're struggling to generate sales, the onus is on you to make that change. No one's going to fix it for you. No outsourcing to a marketing agency, no outsourcing to any form of agency is going to solve that problem. What you need to do is get really, really clear into what it is that you're doing. What is the result that you're providing? What is the offer? What is the product? What is the service? What are your values? What are your principles? What can you then start to voice in your content alongside a process which effectively nurtures somebody through to a sale? This stuff I answer questions on all the time. So if you have any, drop them in the comments down below or send me a message if you're listening to this on the podcast on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I'll happily spend some time with you on it. If you're struggling with content ideas, there is also a content ideas document that you can download for free. There's 100 content ideas that you can download, and I also run live workshops every single month all on this. If you enjoy this sort of content, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We release normally 1 video a week, sometimes 2. I hope it's been helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.